everybody, it's Matt from the house, and in this video we're going to give you a little sneak peek of some of the 22-23 Salomon products. Let's check this stuff out. All right, first up we got the Sleepwalker. This board was kind of an instant favorite when it came to Salomon's boards. It's a twin tip park board, but it's actually a lot sturdier than you would think. It actually has a lot of spring, a lot of pop to it. We've got a little bit of that rubber underneath the feet to give it a little bit more dampening. So if you are carving on some harder conditions, reduces that chatter. Also makes it a little more durable when you're hitting rails and stuff. But the real key to this board is that it actually is under $400. So you actually have a little bit more affordable board that a beginner could jump on, but those guys that maybe want a second board for the park, it's a great option without having to drop a ton of coin. All right, for the girls, this is the new No Drama, pretty sick board. With the success of the Huck Knife and the Huck Knife Pro, they wanted to make a version that was, specifically for the ladies. So it's not the exact same board, but it is. It's basically meant for a women rider. It's a little bit easier to turn, a little easier to push in and out of the turns. But again, something that you can ride in the park, you can take outside of the park, kind of ride everywhere, but you're probably gonna spend a lot of time actually hitting rails and jumps and stuff. We've got those rubber dampening pads in the sidewall underneath both feet, so we're getting rid of that vibration and also giving you a little bit more durability if you are hitting harder features. But super, super dope board. Really, really good look this year too. Okay, so speaking of the Huck Knife, we actually got to talk about the Huck Knife and the Huck Knife Pro. So again, the Huck Knife has been a really, really popular board for them, something that you're slaying park all day long, but if you want to take outside of the park, it has that ability. And then the Huck Knife Pro is basically the souped up version of that. So this board's got a ton of energy, ton of spring, ton of pop. It has that full length rubber underneath your feet, so reduces tons of chatter and makes it a little extra durable for hitting those rails and those harder features. And then this graphic on the bottom, you've already seen this a lot at the Olympics, the X Games. A lot of their teams and even some of the girls that are some of their higher end riders are actually loving this board. But again, great board to ride everywhere on the mountain, especially if you like to spend a lot of time in the park. All right, one of my favorite boards, the Dancehaul. This thing is insane. Every year you think, this looks amazing, how can they make it any better? And they managed to up it. So we got that rad glitter top sheet, but this is going to be one of their volume shift boards. So you're actually going to downsize this thing somewhere 6 to 10 centimeters from what you usually ride. And the really crazy thing is that it does look like a powder board, but this is an all mountain board. I've actually seen some of their riders riding this thing in the streets. It does everything from contact point to contact point. It actually feels more like a regular board, but when you get into that deep snow, it has that little bit longer nose, a little extra width, and then we've got that shorter, narrower, swallowed out tail. So when you do get it into some deep snow, you're gonna get that extra float, and because you can ride that shorter board with that little extra width, you're gonna get the same float as a board that's a little bit longer. Okay, so highly anticipated board for this year from Salomon, the Abstract. This thing is insane. If you love to ride the park and you've always liked the Villain in the past, you're gonna need this board. This has basically replaced the Villain. So it does a lot of the similar things that the Villain does. We've got that full dampening piece underneath there to get rid of that vibration in your carves, also to give you a little bit more durability when you're hitting rails and those harder features. But we've actually beefed this thing up a lot in the nose and the tail, so it's a little bit stiffer just in the nose and tail, so it's still that easy park feel, but tons of spring, tons of pop. And when you do land on it, if you're a little heavy on the front, that extra stiffness is going to set you back down, so you're getting that extra stability. So the cool thing is, I always said, a high-end park board is just a twin tip all mountain board. So this thing, by beefing it up and making it a little bit higher end park board, it actually works really, really well outside of the park too. Really great versatile board for that guy that wants an all mountain board but spends probably 50 to 75% of his time riding the park. Okay, the Salomon bindings for the 22-23 season, we got some pretty rad stuff. So the Rhythm right off the bat, under $200, but look at this binding. This does not look like a binding that's under $200. They did an upgrade on the high back, so it actually kind of looks like some of the higher end bindings. And we've also got a new strap on this thing too. So they've actually taken the strap from some of the higher end bindings and moved it down. But pretty rad binding basically to get into it. Something that's, if you don't have a lot of coin and you want a good binding, or if you're just getting into it and you're not looking to spend a ton of money right off the bat, you get a lot of bells and whistles out of this thing for under $200. All right, next up, the Trigger. This one's a pretty cool one. They've been doing this for a while. We got a super, super comfy strap on this thing, but the main thing to note on this is actually the blaster piece in the back. So this is actually a urethane piece that connects the base plate to the heel loop in the back. And what this does is it actually allows the binding to move a little bit more with your boot, and it actually gives you a little bit of cushioning too. It's almost like a little bit of suspension. So the really cool thing on this one is that it actually smooths out the feel of the binding without having a dead feel underneath your foot. You still get quickness, but it's a smooth feel and a quick feel at the same time. All right, next up, the bread and butter district binding from Salomon. This one really kind of put Salomon on the map when it came to bindings because it has their shadow fit technology in the heel loop. You notice the heel loop is actually a soft heel loop with basically ropes that kind of go through it, these cables that actually attach from underneath the binding all the way through. So the cool thing with this is you think that a soft heel loop isn't going to be very supportive, but the nice thing is it actually wraps around your boot and it moves with your boot, and those cables actually make it feel exactly like it's a stiff, sturdy heel loop. So you're basically getting something that fits better with your boot, moves better with your boot, but still gives you insane response when you're going toe to heel. All right, and with the success of the District, now they actually have the District Pro. So just like when you look at the boards, you got your Huck Knife and your Huck Knife Pro, same thing here. From the District to the District Pro, it's a very similar binding. We've got that same shadow fit, rad high back straps, but everything's just a little bit stiffer. So if you like that super quick feel, you go with the District Pro. If you like that little easier, smoother feel, you go with the District. But the cool thing is this is such a rad binding that they had to have two different versions of it. All right, well, thanks for checking out a little sneak peek of that new Salomon stuff that's coming out this fall for the 22-23 season. If you got any questions beyond what we talked about in the video, definitely leave some comments down below. We're on there every single day trying to answer your questions. We want to make sure we get you into some rad gear, but we want to make sure that's actually going to fit you and your riding style. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, definitely get that notification bell on too so you can find out when all the new videos drop. And no matter what style of riding you're doing, whether you like the park, the POW, or anywhere in between, grab yourself a new Salomon setup and get out and ride, because any day riding is a good day riding.